Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the bridge call. How you doing, Danny?
I'm excited. We have a lovely lady here today up from Toronto with she's going to teach us some things about how to balance energies and remove stress, and even was it things you're allergic to, and well, all these different things called emotional freedom technique. So we welcome Penny tonight to our show.
Hi,
We're
Penny.
excited.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Danny. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me to come on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. We love new guests, and we love to see new methods of clearing, releasing, and increasing our vibration.
Yeah.
And helping us move forward in life.
Yes.
Exactly. We look very forward to it.
One of the words that I kept hearing before coming on the call today was the word ascension. So I don't know if that's top of mind, people on the call here.
It is.
But when you talk about raising your vibration, right? That's kind of in line with ascension, right? In terms of learning how to, release our shadow aspects so that we can raise our awareness and consciousness, and which gives us more ability to really manifest and create the reality we desire, right? We be in that, feel into that power that we actually have in creating what we really want.
Really do. Very good.
Yeah.
You must have heard me screaming it out like, she has ascension symptoms. There's nothing wrong with her.
Were you saying that, or I don't know?
I was saying it to this girl here. Her mom was all sick, dizziness, and feeling queasy and everything, right? But they don't know what's wrong with her. And then she's like, I said, did you hear what was wrong with her? She goes, no, they don't know what's wrong with her. I said, yeah, because she has ascension symptoms. She goes, what the heck is that?
She could probably use tapping to help her work through some of those symptoms.
I'm gonna send it to her. I'm gonna, send it. She's in another country, so she's going to bed now. It's pretty late.
Yeah.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning over there.
Okay.
But yes. So she was a mess. But we listened to another guy, Cornelius, during the day. He's out of New Zealand.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Cornelius. Yeah.
Yeah, so I stuck her on because I said, you need to get tapped in, and first of all, start with letting go of the belief that you can't heal yourself. Because you can do all these modalities, but if you can't, if you have a belief that in the background that this is not going to work, or I can't heal myself, or who am I kidding, or it's you're just always going to cancel it out. So
well, it's
Oh, go ahead, Penny.
Sorry. Because today I was guided to, like, when I actually do a demonstration with you, that we're going to be tapping on the stress related to healing and any the issues that associated with that, because with tapping you actually don't need to believe in it for it to work. So that's why it works so well. Like, oftentimes people will tap and be like, why am I starting to feel better, or my anxiety is decreasing? Like, what are you doing? It's like, it's not me, it's the tapping, right? It actually, when you tap these acupressure points, it calms the stress response, right? It helps to balance your body's energy. Right. So you don't need to believe in it for it to work. But yeah, the belief systems can block, with certain modalities, and our beliefs are super powerful.
Yeah.
So there's definitely ways to, there's working with symptoms, and then working with limiting. So many ways to work with tapping.
Are we recording this?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we are. Good. Okay, because I didn't hear a recording in progress.
Thank God we're partners, Danny.
Thank God you're running the show.
All right, so we're recording, and I was just waiting for a few minutes for people to jump on. And so now what we're going to do is create a circle, bring in all the ascended masters and our higher selves and everyone else that wants to join, that's right there. Ain't so anxious to get in on this conversation.
Part of it.
And all those little animals, I'm seeing all the animals coming in. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. They like, I don't know, this one is like rabbits and like little furry scurry ones.
Really?
So they're
That's
all
cool.
there. All right, so yeah, so what we do is we create a circle and create a safe space. And we usually have Danny start us off with that. Danny, are you willing to
I
create a
certainly
safe
am.
space for us? All right, so if everybody would just sit back and relax and turn your cell phones on vibrate. Unless you're a doctor, leave it on and take that call if you're on call for 24 hours. And just close your eyes, sit back and relax. And we're going to just take a few breaths. Take about 3 deep breaths, and Danny will lead us into a safe circle.
I ask each and every one of you to imagine roots coming out of the bottom of your feet, roots that are going deep into Mother Earth, down through the soil, through the rock, to the core of Mother Earth, which is her light essence or soul essence, and to be fully connected to Mother Earth right now as it is. I've been guided that we need to be grounded here today. We also call on all our angelic realms, our spirit guides of light to be here with us at this time. We call on the ascended masters also to be present here with us today. We ask that you surround us in your light, you surround us in your love, you support us through this session here today, and may we be open to learning and growing and expanding and sharing what we know and our knowledge here today. For we accept this protection around us, this ball of white light, as manifest right here and now. And so it is. Thank you. There we go.
Thank you. And we also call in all our furry friends.
Call in the animals, our brothers and sisters with fur.
Because they are too masters. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, so whenever you're ready, you can come back and open your eyes. All right, so yeah, so Danny has a special friend here, Penny, and I did listen to your video, so it was really cool. It made me laugh because years ago when EFT came on the scene, I think his name was Norman, or I can't remember his full name, but it was him. It was
Gary Craig or
him and his sister. They were working together.
oh, Nick Ortner, Jessica, Nick and Jessica. Yeah.
It was Nick.
Is it Nick Ortner? I think it's Nick Ortner.
Orner. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, from the tapping solution.
Tapping solution. There we go.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know, but so my friend was stressing out, and I said, you know, let's try this tap. Well, we started doing it, and we just cracked up laughing, like distressed laugh. That's how my first introduction to tapping.
Well, that's relieving stress, isn't it? Laughing.
Well, laughter is definitely a sign of a cognitive shift when you're using tapping as well. So I don't know if it was Dawson Church that you're talking about, because Dawson Church is also one of the top names in the tapping solution. Sorry, with the EFT universe.
You're really cutting out. Are you able to?
Yeah, it seems like the connection right now is a little choppy. Like I'm hearing it break up a little bit when you're speaking, and I don't know if it's breaking up when I'm speaking.
Okay, angels make it happen. Thank you. There we go.
You back?
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can.
We can hear you now, but you're not moving.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I think you said earlier that when you had your first experience of tapping, that you were tapping and then you ended up laughing, right?
Yeah, we caught.
Oh, she's frozen now.
Not the first part.
Okay, we're having some technical issues, I think, with the.
So Penny, how about you?
Yeah.
Penny, how about you pop off and then come back on? See if that will adjust.
Okay. All right. I'll do that.
I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
You want to try that?
So which end is this happening at? Her end, your end, my end?
Everybody here is fine, but you have,
You were breaking
you're a
up
little
there.
bit
You
choppy
froze
and
for a
she's
little bit.
choppy.
Yeah, you were breaking up, Lucy.
Oh, good. Thanks for coming in.
Okay. How's
Is
that?
it saying I've got
Well, let's see what happens.
power? So far, so good.
Okay.
Okay, let's try it.
All right. So
Okay.
Penny, why don't we just have a conversation back and forth, and then eventually you'll guide us into whatever it is that you want to do. That what you were mentioning
Oh, she
is
froze.
actually a good belief
Yeah.
system.
Lucy, you froze there for a sec. So I didn't
So-
hear the last part of your like the last half of what you were saying.
So I was saying, why don't we just have a conversation?
Okay.
Why don't we just call each other and talk on the phone, and then maybe it'll work better. Yeah, it's all about problem solution. Let's sort it out. Let's make it work. So, Penny, how did you get involved in EFT?
So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, often referred to as tapping or EFT tapping. And basically, I got into it. It's interesting because the first time I was introduced to it, one of my girlfriends was actually using it for panic attacks. And at that time, I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I was just kind of like, oh, good, that's great. I'm glad you're using something that's working for you. It wasn't until like a few months later that a nurse practitioner that I used to work with in Mexico, actually, she has her own clinic there and an organization there. She basically sent out an email talking about how she'd been using tapping in her clinic with patients to help them with, with anxiety, with grief, with physical pain issues, physical health issues, with stress management, stress reduction. And then once I got that email, I was like, oh, Susan is using tapping. I better look into this and check it out. So that's what I did. I looked into it. And at that time, there wasn't all the videos that there are today. And it was a PDF manual by Gary Craig, who basically created EFT. And I taught myself how to use it. And, Gary Craig talks about the personal peace procedure, where you make a list of the things, events in your life that, bring on some stress or that you can work through to release, repressed emotions or any stress connected to those specific events. And so that's basically how I started. I created a list. And one of the things on the top of my list was a dog phobia that I had suffered with for 4 years. And, dog phobias, they're intense fears. And it was very uncomfortable. And I didn't seek any professional help for it. And I remember when I was doing my master's in social work, one of the therapists in one of the settings that I was doing my placement in had suggested, exposure therapy, going to a dog park and, increasing your exposure to the dogs so that you'll eventually realize they're not a threat. And it's like, that's the last thing that I'm going to do. Just even looking at dogs, brought up all that feeling of anxiety, because a phobia is like very intense fear. So I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. So I learned that tapping is very effective for phobias, and it's actually one of the quickest things that you can clear with tapping. Tapping is very quick at clearing phobias. It can be 1 session, 2 sessions. I have worked with people that, can maybe take a few more sessions depending on the complexity of the issue, that, there could be layers to certain issues. But anyhow, in my situation, I had the dog phobia. I was like, okay, let's work on this. So I basically applied tapping to the 2 specific events that triggered the phobia. So I was chased by dogs when I was 6 years old in the BC countryside. And that was basically after that event. I didn't have a phobia, but I was wary of dogs. Like I wasn't, like into dogs or anything like that. And it wasn't until I got bit by a dog when I was working in Mexico, actually, in my 30s, that the phobia just full-blown triggered that phobia, getting bit, and I had very difficult time walking anywhere in the village that I was working in. Even coming back to Canada, you know, a lot of people have their dogs on leashes, and it was very hard to, you know, I'd cross the street. I would avoid dogs as much as possible, and it was very challenging to do.
Wow.
So I applied tapping to the 2 specific events, and I was completely dissociated from my emotions. So that means I didn't feel anything. So I was thinking about those 2 events while I was tapping on the points. And because I didn't feel anything, I vividly imagined it. Like I tried to imagine it from all different angles, like, because I was 6 years old when I was, sorry, I'm talking about that 6-year-old memory. I was like vividly imagining everything in my mind. And I didn't know in the moment whether I had cleared it or not, but basically I spent about 15 minutes tapping on the 2 memories, the 6-year-old memory, and then the memory when I was in my 30s in Mexico. And then I discovered the next day, because I was like, I don't have any way of testing it. I'm home alone in the safety of my home. But the next day when I went out for a walk on the street, I basically had to do a double take. I realized after I had walked by someone who was walking their dog, I was like, wait a minute, I just walked by a dog and I had zero anxiety, which is, which was completely new.
Wow.
Because in the past it was like I had the radar, you know, for any dogs would cross the street. I would feel the anxiety, the heart palpitations, you know, the whole bit. So, completely cleared it. And to this day, so that's pretty amazing for phobias. And then since then, so that was back in like 2009, and I used it here and there for several issues. But then I started wanting to use it with clients. So I was working in child protection, and I was working with clients, and I realized that I just didn't have enough confidence with dealing with, you know, certain issues. So I felt like I needed to get trained and do some more learning. So I eventually enrolled in the certification program, and then became a certified practitioner, which takes you through rigorous training, definitely prepares you for dealing with a wide range of issues. And so since then, I've basically used tapping in all the workplaces that that I would work at as a social worker and as a counselor and a therapist. And people were very grateful and thankful, because it's one of those tools that it's easy to learn and easy to use. So you can use it as a stress reduction technique, and then using it in a therapy session, like it's very effective as a trauma release method. So, you know, people that have traumatic events, or sorry, that have traumatic experiences, you know, are always looking to try to heal from those experiences. And regular talk therapy just does not release trauma. And so when you use tapping and you're tapping these acupressure points, the actual tapping on the acupressure points, it literally calms the stress response, and it helps to interrupt the that memory, or it helps your brain to realize like that traumatic event that happened is not happening right now. I survived. I'm safe now. Releases that trauma, and then you no longer have that same reaction or that same anxiety to the memory, right? You can become neutral to a traumatic memory. Yeah, so it's possible to fully heal traumatic memories, and you know, help with managing emotions and all sorts of things. So yeah, and I know, Danny, you mentioned like the allergies, like I did have an experience, like, so I've been using tapping for many years now, and like, thank God, because I had a near-death experience like in early January 2021, and I had PTSD as a result. Like I almost died by choking in my kitchen, and anyway, I had PTSD as a result. So I applied tapping to, and I realized after the event that I was having a lot of difficulty eating food, and I realized it was because the food that I had ingested just prior to the choking incident basically got associated with the trauma. So I had to do a lot. So I basically did some tapping with the foods in the space where I experienced the traumatic event, in order to be able to basically eat again.
Wow.
It was very intense. So sorry, I know I went from the dog phobia to like the intense,
No,
No,
it's
that's-
good.
no,
It's
the
good.
intense
It's
thing,
like,
but I have a lot of stories.
yeah.
Like
Wow.
I'm using tapping on myself and also using tapping with clients. Yeah. So anyway,
Beautiful. Wow. Okay. So you're alive. You survived and
I'm a
you're
lot.
free,
Yeah.
Thank you.
free and clear of trauma and
I have
PTSD.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it do for PTSD?
What does it do? Basically, it heals PTSD. You can heal from PTSD, and there's a lot
Oh,
of, so it's very effective at releasing trauma and anxiety, and it basically helps you to process. Aside from releasing the trauma, it accelerates the processing of emotional issues. So if you're experiencing anxiety, grief, and you're tapping while you're feeling those emotions, it helps those emotions to move through you quicker. And because when there's trauma, it's like a
wow.
part of us goes frozen, right? So when you tap,
Yeah.
it's like
Paralyzed.
we're releasing the freeze discharge, I guess we're releasing that freeze, so that the body, the subconscious mind realizes like I survived, I can release that. I no longer need to have that that fight or flight response related to that particular event. So there's a lot of research actually that's been done with war veterans that shows like
War
there's
vets,
yeah,
yeah.
there's between 4 to 10 sessions. I think it's 4 to 10 sessions or 6 to 10 sessions for veterans, like 90% of veterans in this one particular study to no longer meet the criteria for PTSD, which is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
So
heard that.
So when
Yeah.
you do this, do you
Mhm.
have to imagine the event when you're tapping? Is that how it works?
You do imagine the event. Now, because with traumatic events, and it can be very scary, right? So you don't necessarily need to, there are gentle techniques to basically approach a traumatic event without going into the traumatic event, because
Okay.
it can be re-traumatizing. You don't want to re-traumatize yourself by automatically thinking of a traumatic evant while
Okay.
tapping. And some people will just automatically do it. Like I know when I worked you know, for a counseling agency, some people that have been in counseling for many, many years, they've been through a variety of counselors and things like that. Like talking about the traumatic event, people will say like, I didn't feel good afterwards. I felt bad. Well, it's because it's all those emotions are activated and it's like you're back there again, right? And then when you tap,
Reliving it.
right, then you start to feel different. People are like, oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to feel different now. I don't feel the same like I did before. What was your
Okay.
question again?
So, I mean, when you do the tapping, say for PTSD, do you have to think about the event?
Oh, right. Do you have to think about the event? So
Right.
if someone wants to apply tapping for PTSD and they've never done tapping before, then I recommend that they work with a practitioner, right? That knows how to
Okay.
help them to gently approach the event, because there's different techniques within tapping to basically, approach an event without diving right into it. And you can clear a lot of that trauma before actually going into an event. And then it is actually possible to clear the trauma without going into the event using matrix reimprinting. It's just another way of using tapping.
What did you call it?
Matrix reimprinting.
Okay.
So matrix reimprinting was,
Oh, that's interesting.
pardon me?
That's interesting wording.
Yeah. So with matrix reimprinting, we help clients to dissociate from the younger version of themselves that experienced that particular event. And, people can and often may dissociate during a traumatic event as a way to cope and survive that situation. But it can still, that trauma will still be held in their field. And so with matrix reimprinting, get people to dissociate from the event so that they can engage with the event from more of a distance, and then to kind of slowly, and to help the younger version of themselves. So we talk about their younger self like it's a completely different, separate person, to help them process their emotions, and to bring in resources. So this is where we can, bring in you know, can bring in angels and guides or other helpers from, you know, other realms to basically help empower that client. Because, you know, when people experience trauma as well, it's because they may not have feel like they're completely helpless in the situation. They don't have the resources. So we're going in and providing those resources, right? And we're working with the memories. So it's not necessary to relive or have to necessarily go through that traumatic event using tapping. But if you don't know the techniques, then you might think, oh, I just got to think about the event. Now, the event that I experienced when I was 6 years old, that was a traumatic event to my 6-year-old self. As an adult, thinking about it, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, that could seem like very scary, like these 6 dogs over me, you know, like chasing me and like they're over me and I'm lying down." I feel nothing as an adult, you know, thinking about this situation, but I can see how that would be very, very scary and traumatic. So, you know, yeah. So with some events, some people want to, you know, process the event, or there's certain aspects of the event, but, you know, in some cases where there's like severe trauma, I don't recommend necessarily playing those events in your mind while you're tapping the points, unless you are an experienced tapper, experienced practitioner, and you know what you're doing. Otherwise, it would be good to work with a practitioner so that you can feel like you have some, you know, it makes a difference when you have someone who can help you hold the space and who can also help guide you so that you feel like, okay, it is possible for me to heal from, you know, this PTSD from this traumatic event without have to actually relive it. You don't need to relive it. It's not necessary. Sorry, I know that was a long-winded answer to your question.
No, it was good to hear this.
I feel healed already. Awesome. So, are you able to show us some tapping points tonight, or is there anything else that you'd like to share before you get into sharing the tapping points?
Yeah, so I can show you the tapping points. Excuse me. And I'm burping a little bit right now, and I feel like
Uh-oh, she's choking. She's going.
No. So one of the things to keep in mind, I think my body's already getting ready. So when we're tapping, it's common to burp, yawn. Yawning is one of the most common signs of like an energy release. So you were yawning, we're coughing, we're burping, sneezing. You can sneeze as a sign of release. That can also happen. And I know earlier you talked about laughing. So laughing is like a cognitive shift, right? Where you it's like a recognition, like, oh, it doesn't feel the same anymore. So you've released it. So it's also another sign of release when you're laughing about a situation that before you were like really upset about.
Yeah, it's like my body got let out of prison. That's how it feels. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's when I know, oh my God, I really shifted.
Yeah. So I can show you the tapping points, and I'll show you the tapping points that I use. And so I invite everybody to just tap along with me. And then after I show you the tapping points, then I can guide you in a tapping sequence. And I'll explain that after I show you the tapping points.
Okay, just for the sake of time, so we usually wrap up by 9:30. So we probably want to wrap it up like 10 after 9.
Or so.
Oh yeah. This is
And then
we have a half an hour at least.
Yeah, and then we do like we do a wrap up and stuff. Okay, just giving you the structure.
All right. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna just start tapping. So you just take your hands and you're just tapping on the side of the hand. So this is the side of the hand point.
Does it matter left or right?
It doesn't matter. You can tap either side. Some people also like to tap like this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you can experiment with the different ways to tap and then just do what feels right for you. And the next point is the top of the head. So you're tapping right around the center of the head. Some people feel a tingling up here. Most people don't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So if you just have an open hand just up at the top of your head, you'll be tapping on the right point. The next point is the eyebrow point. So if you take 2 fingers and right at the beginning of your eyebrow, so you can tap on one side, you can take both hands and tap on both sides. Or you can take one hand and you can go right across the middle. So you'll be tapping at the beginning of both eyebrows. Now, it doesn't matter whether you tap on one side or tap on both sides, as long as you're stimulating one of the points, then that's totally fine. I personally like to tap this point like this, but you can do what feels better for you. So if I have a client that prefers to tap like this, then I'm going to mirror what they prefer. Yeah. So the next point is the side of the eye. There's a bone right at the side of your eye. So you're tapping right at the bone. And I like to tap on both sides. So that's what I'm going to do. But some people just like to tap on one side, and that's totally fine. The next point is under the eye. So we're tapping at the top of the cheekbone with 2 fingers closer to your nose. And the next point is under the nose. The next point is the chin point. So you're tapping right on the crease. The next point is the collarbone point. So for the collarbone, you can feel your collarbone and just bring it just below your collarbone. I have my mic on one side, so I'm just going to tap on the other side so it's not too loud. So you can tap on both sides. You can take one hand, go across the middle. Sorry, one hand and be tapping on both sides. Or you can do what Danny's doing, right? So Danny's crossing his arms and tapping like that. Some people like to do it like that too. You can do it that way. The next point is under the armpit. So for women, this would be where your bra strap would be. For men, it's basically parallel to your nipple under your armpit. So if you have an open hand, just tapping there, then that's fine. You can tap on one side, you can tap on both sides. Sometimes people find this one a little bit uncomfortable. So I usually just tap on one side. And I like to tap on the wrist point. So on the inside of the wrist, this is like an extra point, I guess you could say, not one of the main tapping points, but I like to use it. So I'm going to show you it. And now we're going to tap on the finger points. So the finger points, your palm is facing you, and you're basically tapping at the top where your skin and your nail meet. And then we just go through the finger points.
So each point activates certain energy fields or emotions?
So we're tapping on acupressure endpoints. And they're connected to different organs in our body. And there's basically there's energy that's going in and out of these energy pathways through the points that we're tapping on right now. Most of them are endpoints. Yeah. Okay. Feeling it coming through. Okay, and so another way that you can tap the finger points is you can just take your thumb and you can just tap on the index finger. So this is something that, you know, if you're in public and you're wanting to tap, feeling anxious, wanting to calm yourself, you can just take your thumb and tap on the index finger. You can tap on the middle finger. You can tap through all the fingers if you want, or you can just tap on one finger. And then the last point is the back of the hand point. So it's in between the pinky and the fourth finger at the back of the hand. And you can just tap there.
And you don't have to go hard.
No, you can just be tapping lightly on it. Yeah. And so when you tap through, so those are all the tapping points, and tapping through all the points is considered a round of tapping. And okay, so it's considered a round of tapping, and let's see, what should I be telling you now before we do a tapping exercise? If you're feeling stressed, sometimes people stop themselves from tapping because they're like, I don't know what to say. People are concerned about the words because, you know, sometimes people learn, oh, I'm supposed to say words when I tap, or affirmations or things like that. And when people are just first starting out, I'd say, don't worry about the words.
Right.
But if you can just tap while focusing on how you're feeling. Like if you're feeling stressed, you just tap while you're focusing on how you're feeling. But if you want to use words, one of the easiest ways is to just say what you're feeling. Just talk about the truth about what you're thinking and feeling, and tap to the points. So one of the concerns that some people have when they're first learning tapping is, oh, am I tapping in the negative? Like I'm feeling like crap. I'm, like, is this gonna, am I, people think about tapping in emotions. It's like, no.
Anchoring it in.
Yeah. So you're not anchoring any lower emotions, or what some people might describe as negative emotions. You're not anchoring it in. When you lean into, we're naturally high vibrational beings, right? So when you lean into the, let's say anger, or when you lean into grief or sadness and you tap to the points, it helps you to process those emotions so that you can come back to your baseline. And you can actually increase your baseline, which is
right.
When we talk about raising our vibration, raising our frequency, by doing other exercises as well. And tapping is one of the ways to help with quickly releasing those lower emotions so that we can get into those higher states.
And we create a new baseline.
We create a new baseline. And so when you tap on the truth, right? So when you tap on the truth of what you really think and feel, that's the quickest way to releasing those lower emotions, because sometimes people don't want to speak the negative. Oh, I don't want to say this because then I'm affirming, like something negative might happen. But the thing is, you're still thinking it. And your thoughts have a lot of, and the emotion is there. So when you just admit the truth of what you're thinking and feeling while you're tapping, your truth is going to change.
So how about you take it through, like pretending the client is feeling very unworthy, or I'm not enough
or something. Yeah.
And then, so what would be the things that you would suggest to say? It's like, oh, I've had a shitty day. I can't believe I did this. I feel like crap. I'm so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nothing I do works.
What's that? Sorry?
I just said nothing I do works well. Any of these negative thoughts.
Yeah. So in those types of situations, I recommend venting and tapping, right? So you just say, I'm venting and tapping, like I'm just not good at. The thing with some of the statements, right, is that they could be connected to bigger issues, right? Like I'm not good enough is like a limiting belief, right? And there could be a number of events that are connected to that limiting belief. And so the quickest way to collapse that limiting belief, to transform that limiting belief, is to apply tapping to those specific events, right? So when you're tapping and venting, you're helping to calm the stress response, but are you collapsing that limiting belief? Maybe not. Especially if it's something that's been ingrained, like this I'm not good enough and it's a pretty common one, right? Where people believe they're just not good enough. So when you tap on, well, what is the evidence that shows that you believe that you're not good enough? So the evidence is, oh, this happened to me, or like my boss, yelled at me, or, this happened to me in childhood. So tapping on those specific events, basically what happens is when you apply tapping to those specific events, there's a generalization effect. So let's say there's, I don't know, like 100 events. You don't need to tap on all of them. You can tap on a certain number of them, key events, and then there's a generalization effect. And it's like, oh, I don't believe that anymore. My new belief is, yeah, I am worthy. I am good enough. I know it. I feel it. It's like that confidence is just within you, but it may not, sometimes people, especially when online with tapping, because there's so many like beautiful success stories with tapping, people may have this idea like, oh, in one session, I'm going to be like this transformed person. And in one session, you can be transformed. You can release trauma, all sorts of lower emotions, or, even if like you're having headaches or physical pain can be released in a session. But when it comes to certain limiting beliefs, if people are tapping, they're like, oh, I'm venting and tapping, but I'm still not feeling good. Well, maybe there's something else, something deeper that needs to be looked at in order to, really to fully collapse that, right? So, yeah, but I do want to take you in a guided tapping right now, because I was guided to do some guided tapping with the group here on tapping related to healing stress related to healing. Like I'm not healing, that kind of thing. And when so every week I do the weekly tapping circle, and the weekly tapping circle is an online group that I do where it's just 1 hour where I take people through a guided meditation, and then we do guided tapping exercises. And in that group, what I do is I connect with spirit. I ask spirit, okay, show me what I need to focus on today, what the tapping is going to be, and based on the people that attend the group, and then we kind of go from there.
Cool.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what how I'm treating this group today. And when I asked, I said, okay, so there may be people in this group where this may pertain to you, or it may not pertain to you, but to get the most out of it, to get what's called borrowing benefits. So you can tap with the intention that you're going to heal your own issue by tapping on another issue, right? So
Right.
if anybody here has a particular issue or something that they would like to clear, then right now, if you want to participate in this, then I invite you to participate. If there's something that has been bugging you, stressing you out, and you want to clear that, then I would invite you to think about what that is and just give it a name or a title. And then from 0 to 10, like, how much is it bothering you, or how much stress is there connected to this event? 10 being the most distressed, and 0, there's no stress at all. And okay, and let me just see here. Just see if there's something else I'm supposed to share before we get moving on this. Okay, no, so that's it. All right, so, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to repeat after me. So if I say something and you don't want to say what I'm saying, then I invite you to just feel free to change the words and change the language, except Lucy and Danny, you're both unmuted. So you're going to be repeating after me. And so I'd ask you to just continue to say what I say. And anyone else who's listening, if you want to change the words, that's totally fine. And so we'll just do this guided tapping and for a few minutes and see how it goes, because this is what I'm being guided to do. So any
Perfect.
questions before we get started on that?
Any questions? We all have let's go.
Okay, all right. So let's tap on the side of the hand. And basically
right.
what we're going to do is we're going to say a setup statement. And the setup statement is to help connect to the energy of that which we want to release, right? And the whole purpose of using words and statements is to connect to the energy, right? So sometimes if we're tapping on something and we think, oh yeah, I've released it, but let's say we haven't talked about it. Once you start talking about something that has caused you some stress, if you notice some emotion come up, then you know, oh, okay, let me do some more tapping on that. So anyhow, okay, so let's start here. So, okay. So repeating after me, even though I have all this stress related to healing.
Even though I have all this stress related to healing.
There's this issue that I want to heal.
There's this issue that I want to heal.
And it just feels like it's been so difficult.
It just feels like it's been so difficult.
I'm safe right now.
I'm safe right now.
Even though I have all this stress related to healing this issue.
Even though I have all the stress related to healing what?
Healing this issue.
Healing this issue.
I allow myself to be divinely guided and supported.
I allow myself
to be divinely guided and supported.
So now we're going to tap through the points, and we're going to say just some phrases, and you can just repeat after me. All the stress related to healing.
All the stress related to healing.
All the stress related to healing my mind.
All the stress related to healing my mind.
All the stress related to healing my body.
All the stress related to healing my body.
All this frustration with healing this issue.
All the frustration healing this issue.
all the stress with healing this issue.
All the stress of healing this issue.
This part of me that doesn't believe I can heal.
There's a part of me that doesn't believe that I can heal.
All the stress in my body.
All the stress in my body.
All the stress on my mind.
All the stress on my mind.
What if I can't heal this issue?
What if I can't heal this issue?
I'm so stressed about this.
I'm so stressed about this.
All the stress related to healing this issue.
All the stress related to healing this issue.
All the stress in my mind.
All the stress on my mind.
The stress in my body.
The stress in my body.
It feels like it's been way too much.
It feels like it's been way too much.
In this moment, I'm safe.
In this moment, I'm safe.
I allow myself to be divinely guided and supported.
I allow myself to be divinely guided and supported.
So I'm just going to take you through one more round.
Okay.
All the stress related to healing this issue.
All the stress related to healing this issue.
It's possible for me to release. It's possible for me to heal this issue.
It's possible for me to heal this issue.
It feels so difficult.
It feels so difficult.
It's been so challenging.
It's been so challenging.
All the stress related to healing this issue.
All the stress relating to healing this issue.
I am divinely guided and supported.
I am divinely guided and supported.
I'm open to using tools that can help me heal.
I'm open to using tools that can help me heal.
There's a part of me that doesn't believe anything can help me.
There's a part of me that doesn't want to help me.
All the stress related to healing this issue.
All the stress relating to healing this issue.
I'm safe and supported.
I'm safe and supported.
There's a part of me that doesn't feel safe.
There's a part of me that doesn't feel safe.
Because I'm dealing with all this stress.
Because I'm dealing with all the stress.
All the stress related to healing.
All the stress related to healing.
In this moment, I'm safe and supported.
In this moment, I'm safe and supported.
I allow myself to be divinely guided and supported.
I allow myself to be divinely guided and supported.
I'm safe right now.
I'm safe right now.
Okay, so we'll just stop and take a breath. So I don't know if anybody wrote anything down. You can look at what you wrote down and see if there's a difference there. But here it's just like I was just tapping into a little bit of that energy of the stress related to healing. And, you know, I'm just speaking in, it's just kind of in focusing in general terms. But there's a lot more that can be said and can come out of that energy that I think a lot of people might be struggling with right now. And, you know, when people go to their certain practitioners, maybe they might be given, you know, limiting information that may limit what they believe is possible, right? And so the reality is that we are incredibly resilient. The body is always wanting to heal itself. And so when we apply tapping to the stress related to healing any particular issue, and actually even apply tapping to help us support in healing those issues, it can accelerate, you know, the body's capacity to heal itself.
Right.
It was good that we used those words because, you know, we're so busy trying to fix it, heal it, restore it, you know, get it back to its original blueprint. And we can get frustrated and stressed out about it.
Yeah.
And we
Mhm.
totally bypass the fact that we're stressed out trying to be happy.
Right.
Trying to get free. Like, why is this so stressful?
Yeah.
And then we don't talk about that part.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I actually felt like, oh yeah, we can just
Mhm.
relax the stress around just, healing, which is our natural,
Yeah.
rhythm.
Yeah, and we do have the answers I do believe we have the answers within us. Like you know,
Sure we
uh,
do.
our heart is like a portal, right? That has the answers to everything. And so when we start to calm the stress response, like, oh, I'm so stressed, I'm frustrated with this issue. I wonder what can help me. So I wonder is like a door opener. Like, I wonder what can help me. Like when we ask the heart, when we ask ourselves, our hearts, like it's a way to, access our higher self, the highest, wisest part of us. Like, what can help me heal this issue? When we use tapping to calm the stress response, we can receive answers from our own intuition about what can help us. Or we can ask questions about, like, oh, I'm working with this health practitioner or that health practitioner, and we can ask questions about the help that we're receiving and receive the answers from ourselves, from our own intuition,
Yeah.
calm that stress response. Yeah.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions or you want to
How,
mention
how,
anything?
how often do we do this? We have to do it every day or many times a day?
Well, it kind of depends on what your goal is, what you're hoping to achieve, right? So I personally use tapping every day. I mean, I am a helper and a healer, and I help people, you know, uh, heal. So I'm using tapping all the time because it helps me to, clear any stress. It also helps to ground my energy. And then if I'm working on a particular issue, then I'm gonna be using it to help me with that as well. So it really depends on what the goal is. It is like one of those tools that, just like people brush their teeth, for their physical hygiene. I see tapping as an excellent, easy tool for like our emotional hygiene, right? Because you can use tapping basically anywhere and at any time to help with calming that stress response.
Right.
So it really depends. If you want to use it for stress reduction, you can use it every day. Or, I mean, we have to be very mindful about what we're exposed to, right? Because there's a lot of energies that try to keep us in the lower states, right? And so it can be challenging. And then when it comes to, if there's a particular issue or a health issue, it really depends. If there is a particular issue that you are wanting to use tapping, it can be helpful to carve out some time during the day to go, okay, I'm going to carve this time to focus on healing this particular issue. So it's kind of like you work on a little bit at a time.
So can you tap too much?
There's no such thing as, tapping too much. I don't think so.
Coming from my addict mind, ooh, more is good.
What I can say is that tapping is very forgiving. So, if you when you're tapping on a particular issue, sometimes the amount of time that you spend tapping makes a difference. So let's say I'm tapping for 5 minutes and I'm feeling very stressed out. Okay, well, maybe 5 minutes is not enough. 20 minutes, half an hour, even up to an hour, right? What I have found is even up to, and because most sessions are, an hour long. We're tapping for about 45 minutes within that session, and there's significant releases that can be happening within that 1 hour session. And working with a practitioner can help you to, get to a certain state that maybe it might be harder to see or to navigate on your own, but there's a lot of great work that you can do tapping on your own, because it is a very forgiving process. So whether you're like, I don't know if I'm saying the right words, but if you're tapped and tuned in to what you're wanting to release, then that can be helpful. But I just want to say one more thing is that if there are significant issues, it can be overwhelming, right? So if there's like significant issues that have happened and you're just tapping and focusing on all this stress, sometimes it can be like, oh my God, I have all this other stress and all this other stress that comes up. So that's when compartmentalizing, creating some distance, using some techniques to be able to, you know, help with not getting too overwhelmed, right, with the issues that can come up, because sometimes it can be a lot to deal with. I hope did that answer your question?
No, that was good. Charlotte,
Yeah,
got a little hand up.
I have two questions actually. One is about does tapping actually ground you? And if so, do you have to go through all of the tapping points to be grounded?
You don't have to tap through all the points. It definitely helps with grounding. And you can also, so you can tap on the points and it can help with grounding. You can also add tapping if you have a visualization, like I'm using a technique to, you know, just like Danny used the roots in the beginning, I often use light that, you know, connecting to the center of the earth. So you can add tapping to it if you want. But definitely, you don't need to tap through all the points. If there's a certain point that you like that feels good for you, that's enough. Yeah.
My second question is about, I find it really comforting to tap above the lip and above the chin. Is that sort of a normal feeling for most people, or is that just?
So what I have found is that there's so much diversity. So like you're saying, offer you could get comfort here. I've had clients they get comfort here, other clients say here, some over here, and some on the side of the hand or the back of the hand. So I haven't noticed that there's one particular point that everybody's like, oh my God, this is my favorite point. I've noticed that it's very diverse.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Does it have to be in sequence, in the sequence that you showed?
So it doesn't have to be in the sequence. So a lot of the research that's been done, you know, it's with tapping practitioners, they're using the sequence. You don't need to use the sequence to experience relief. So you can skip certain points if you want. Now, if you're tapping through the points, and let's say you're only tapping on 1 or 2 points, or you're skipping certain points, and you're noticing, well, I'm not feeling a shift in my energy. Okay, then tap on the other points and see how that feels. So like when I use matrix 3 imprinting with clients, oftentimes we're not even tapping through most of the points. We're just tapping on one point, because a lot of what we're doing with matrix is visualizing, the client of today connecting with their younger self. So we're just tapping on one of the points typically to help with that. So it's not necessary, but again, you can tap on the points. If you notice, I'm not feeling the shift in energy, tap through all the points. You can experiment too with tapping through the different points and go, how does this feel for me? And going through the points.
No, I'm saying like if you miss the sequence, like if you like forget one step and then you remember and you go back and do that. Does that matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. That's what.
Yeah.
Very forgiving.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about something like a physical issue? Like if you have a sore back or you're getting migraines?
Yeah, so there's often emotional connections to any physical issues. Now, physical issues can be brought on by, not just thoughts and emotions, but could be something in the environment, right? Or it could be related to foods, right? I encourage people to take a holistic approach when it comes to addressing certain issues. And but with like physical pain, there are gentle techniques. So with tapping, you can simply focus on the sensations of pain in your body. You can describe the sensations of pain while you're tapping through the points, and that can be enough to help release that pain. And you may not even need to have the awareness of what triggered the pain.
Right.
However, in some cases, so for example, I remember in some cases you may need to go a little bit deeper. So for example, once upon a time, I had like this very intense lower back pain for 3 days. And I was like tapping, focusing on the sensations of pain. And I'm just like, oh, this won't budge. And then I ended up working with a practitioner, and I was asked, you know, and then, you know, at that time was like early on, and, you know, lower back issues can be related to feeling unsupported. Was I feeling unsupported by someone? Yes, I was. I was feeling unsupported by my boss at the time, and I was super upset. I tapped on the upset feelings about, you know, feeling unsupported by my boss. And within 2 minutes, or even less, actually, the pain completely disappeared. So I had suffered for 3 days, you know, awkward, can't sleep, in the car, everything's like, oh, lower back. And then once I was able to pinpoint the root of the issue, which was I'd repressed those emotions, I would repress that anger, you know, and then I allowed myself to go there and to feel that anger and be like, yeah, I was upset, tap at the points, and then it was released. So sometimes sometimes you can use those gentle techniques and just focus on the sensations. And sometimes you need to go to the root of the matter. Now, that being said, the root of the matter may have an emotional component to it. And then there may also be like a physical component. So I'm also an intuitive and divine channeler. And one of the things that I do when I work with clients is I can see where they're feeling and sensing emotions in their body, and spirit will show me if they need certain foods or other, you know, other interventions that may help with that particular issue. So one of the after having the near-death experience, one of the learning things for me was learning how to use food as medicine from Anthony William, the medical medium. So I highly recommend him for anybody that wants to learn how to use food as medicine to help with the body's healing. That was, I feel like, probably one of the missing pieces in me taking that holistic approach. So, but the emotional, the thoughts and the beliefs and the emotions is something that I feel like is not given enough attention that it needs and is required, you know, in the conventional system, because every physical ailment always has an emotional component to it. in my experience.
My humble experience. Yeah, it's like we're always trying to think our way out of it. When we need to stop and just feel like, well, what did that feel like? Oh, yeah. That felt like crap.
And then with the tapping, it can support us with feeling those emotions, because sometimes the emotions are so overwhelming, right? Like, and that's why, you know, we repress our emotions, right? Because it's like, whoa, it's a lot to feel, and we're not necessarily raised to, you know, feel or manage our emotions, right? So it's not uncommon that we repress our emotions and then they show up in the body
Years later.
Yeah.
Question.
Question, go ahead.
We're gonna go down the woo-woo here. Okay, so what if the issue, whatever it may be, what causes stress, is past life?
Danny, I'm so glad you're asking that question.
What I do.
You can also use tapping to heal past life issues. So one of my mentor, when I was getting trained in tapping, I'm so grateful to Jenny Johnson. She is a trainer at EFT Universe, and she's also very intuitive, and she's a clinical hypnotherapist, and she specializes in, you know, she does past life regression with people, and then she uses tapping to heal their issues. And she developed what's called quantum EFT, where you're working with, you know, past lives, and you're using language to get to the multidimensional layers of your cells and DNA in this lifetime and past lifetimes and things like that. So you're using your intention to basically clear it. And so I have my own experiences actually of healing my own past life issues using tapping. And there's actually a video clip, I can send it to you afterwards, that Jenny had filmed of a workshop that I attended of hers back in 2015, and recently she released it, but I had it kept, you know, private for a long time because I was like, oh, I don't want anybody to see it. But now I'm like, oh, everybody can watch it and learn from it. Where I did a past life regression in this group setting, and when I thought about what happened, I didn't really feel anything. But again, as soon as I started talking about it, what I saw, so basically I was this man in this past life, and I was going to war, and I knew I was going to die. I had a wife and 3 children. And, you know, me speaking to you right now, like I'm telling you this story. Back in 2015, I was bawling my eyes out, trying to get the words out, trying to even explain what I had just told you right now. So
Right.
I use tapping to basically release those emotions. And so when you do the past life regression, you feel those emotions. You're like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, but it does, because we're bringing it from that past life. So you can use tapping to clear the past life issue. So I use tapping to clear that. I also had another issue, a past life issue that came to the surface a year later. That I used matrix re-imprinting actually to help me with clearing that. So anyway, there's elements of like quantum EFT. There's a lot of, you know, similarities with the techniques to basically go in and clear those past life issues. So if somebody feels or senses or has like a vision, like I feel like this is a past life issue. Okay, so what we do with tapping is we go and we chase the energy. We go into that energy, we lean into the energy, we notice what, you know, what thoughts or emotions or, you know, even events that might come to the surface, whether they make sense or not, it doesn't even matter. Because when we use tapping on whatever it is that comes up, if there's an emotion there, it means that it's likely happened, and then you just clear it using the tapping technique. So it's pretty amazing.
Wow, that's incredible. And what about if you're into doing a release on some emotion? Can you just intentionally put it out there and say, in any other lives that are connected to this?
Yes. Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, as I was saying, it's like, yes.
Yeah. Our intention is so powerful. But yeah, but there's some people that are, you know, doubt that they can actually do it. Like people doubt their own ability, right? They doubt that they have the power within them, right? And it's like, yeah, our intention, when we really have a strong desire for something, like that intention, that will move us forward, will you know, move us to take the steps to help us heal that particular issue. Yeah.
And what about bringing in like abundance, or bringing in your future self that's like an incredible salesperson, or bringing in that person that, you know, just can channel, and, you know, that version of yourself? Can you like tap on bringing in speeding up?
So what I like to do with that is so matrix re-imprinting, I like to use that where I take people into the future. So you know, for example, like I had this client that I worked with once who, you know, had this let me just see how I'm going to tell the story here. Anyhow, she was a college student, and she wanted to you know, really was concerned about this test that she was going to be doing.
Right.
And so I basically took her into the future to connect with a future her that's already accomplished everything that she has desires to accomplish, everything that she wants and needs. And also, what advice does her future self have for her? Because again, it's one of the ways that you can access your intuition, your higher self, the highest, wisest part of you. Your intuition knows what you need. And so it's not coming from me, it's coming from them. And then we, and that's after having tapped on all the stress. Like we're releasing the stress so we can connect to that future self and be open to the message and the guidance that comes in. And then we anchor it through the heart. So basically I take people through a guided meditation. So when there's like a positive resolution, right? Take them through a guided meditation. Sorry, I'm like trying to avoid hitting the mic here. Where we bring that image, the thoughts, the new thoughts, beliefs, that positive resolution, the positive outcome, we anchor it in by doing a visualization that brings it through the entire body and out the heart, and then we send it down the timelines. And so I like to use the language across all time and space. And so we did that with that student, and I was so impressed because she basically told me she ended up getting 100% on her
Oh,
exam.
come
Like,
on.
wow. So that was like a huge success story. It was like, amazing. That's awesome.
It's
Mhm.
So,
incredible.
yeah. And so, and with that tapping, it's like tap on the stress. And then when we do tap, like when we anchor the positive in, you don't necessarily need to tap. I will get people to tap on the back of the hand point if they want to, if they don't, because they just don't feel like it. Because they want to focus more on that visualization, then they can do that. It's not
Right.
necessary to necessarily tap that in. Yeah. So
Very good.
we can work with, so yeah, there's definitely, if you do the standard like EFT training, I mean, you could tap on like a future, on future things, like future goals, but at the same time, so you have a certain goal in mind, this is what I would like, and you could start with that and go, okay, what's in the way of me
Yeah.
accomplishing that? And then you'll get, oh, well, this negative thing happened in the past, that's why I don't believe that thing is possible. Then you tap on that, right? Release the emotions, you know, the lower emotions around that.
Right.
So there's different ways that you can go about doing it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. We could talk for another couple hours. And so we're on
Maybe
a
we'll get
time
her
limit.
back again sometime.
Yeah, sure.
It was
Absolutely.
awesome. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been delightful.
And are there any
No.
questions? Anybody got a good question?
I have
Yeah,
I have a couple
yeah.
of questions.
Yeah, we just have a few
Okay.
more seconds, so go ahead.
What if you have a physical injury that you're still dealing with? Would that help with it?
Yeah, so definitely. So when it comes to physical injury, we have emotions about those injuries, right? So with physical injuries, you can tap on like the event that contributed to the physical injury. And that that can also help with healing, because oftentimes if there is a physical injury, maybe there's, you know, I'm upset because this other thing happened, or, you know, like there could be different aspects could be like the look on someone's face, the tone of voice, or, you know, something someone said, right, that could that be part of that physical injury experience. So you can definitely tap on the emotions and thoughts related to the physical injury, the actual event itself, and any other emotions around the physical injury. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and my second question is that, you know, I hurt my shoulders and arms and I can't tap for a very long time. I get tired. Is it possible to do it with your mind instead of just
Yes.
tapping?
That's a good
Yes.
question.
Yes, you
Mhm.
can. So this is something that I have had clients do this before, and I've heard other people talk about doing this. I personally have probably done this maybe once or so. Like, I don't do it too often, but you can visualize yourself tapping on the points. So instead of actually doing tapping, or let's say if you're tired, you can have your hands relaxed on your lap. You can tap on the back of the hand point. But if you're like, I'm tired, I don't want to tap, you can visualize, close your eyes and visualize yourself tapping on the points. I have had clients tell me that they have been able to calm themselves by doing that. And I know that there's other stories, maybe even be able to find some online, where people talk about just visualizing themselves doing the tapping, and that helps to activate the like calming of the stress response.
Okay, thank you.
You can experiment with that and see how it goes.
Yes.
Right.
Have to get back to us on that one.
Yeah,
That
let
was
us
good.
know.
That was a good question though. Like, yeah, I never even thought of
Very
that.
good question.
Yeah.
So where can we find your work, and how do we connect with you, Penny?
Yeah, so my website is pennyaraujo.com, pennyaraujo.com. And I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, Penny Araujo. I'm on Rumble, Instagram, penny.intuitive wellness, and Facebook, penny.intuitive wellness. So yeah, that's, if you have any questions, you can always send me a message. You can email me at hello@pennyarujo.com or penny@pennyarujo.com. And yeah.
So
Can we
we'll
put a
put all
link to
the,
that, Lucy?
we'll put all the links in the
When we
thing
put it
also,
on
and in
YouTube?
the replay, like I send out a replay to the
Oh,
group.
okay.
And
Perfect.
then
Yeah.
we'll
And I
put
also
your-
have, sorry.
No, and then we'll put all the links and all that. in
Yeah,
the
so I
email.
have a tapping tutorial. I think you sent it with the email. So the tapping, there is the tapping tutorial, there's the video, and then there's also like on my website in the blog section, if you want to read the tutorial, instead of going through the video, you can also read it on my website.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's there's a lot of great tips and tools, it's pretty comprehensive, how to tap for self-care and self-healing. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy it.
Very good.
What's your website? Intuitive Healing?
Oh no, my website is my name, pennyarrujo.com.
Okay. All right. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Penny, for being on. And I did learn some stuff actually, and I look forward to using the tapping to bring in my future and looking at what's in the gap and releasing. Because
Awesome.
yeah, that would be really cool. Because today also we did a lot of releasing of past lives in the other meditations I was on, and we did it in a way where it's just like, here you are, but envision and be connected to the outer body outside of yourself. Start clearing it from that aspect. So we can throw tapping in there, and just start connecting.
Why not?
Yeah, totally.
On many levels.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay,
Cool.
so because of the limited time, I appreciate you coming on. It was really nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting you too. Thank you so much for having me. And, I'm happy to do, another kind of exercise another time.
Oh, we'd love to have you back.
And what about the weekly tapping circle that you have going on?
So the weekly tapping circle is every Saturday at 12 o'clock. And basically it's an opportunity for people to, what I have found is that, clients, they want to do tapping on their own, but sometimes they just don't end up doing it on their own. So I invite people to come to the tapping circle. It's like an hour where you're, doing your self-care, except it's completely guided, right? Where I do a guided meditation at the beginning, and then we do some guided tapping exercises. And then for about 15 minutes or so, I ask if there's a volunteer that wants to get my direct support with healing their particular issue, the issue that they're wanting to work on, while everybody taps along and gets borrowing benefits.
Okay.
And then we wrap up with a meditation. So the hour goes by quick because it's not a lot of, I'm not explaining a lot. We're doing the meditations, we're doing the tapping, so.
And where's the link for this?
Is that on you?
So you can find it on my website. So at pennyarrujo.com, like if you go to, it says book a session. So in there, you'll see the weekly tapping circle. If you go to my services page, you'll see there's information about the weekly tapping circle. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I offer intuitive readings as well. And I do personal counseling and coaching sessions where I mostly use EFT tapping in those sessions, and any other tools that, seem like would be appropriate.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I have furry friends coming in.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to connect with Penny, I'm going to put all her stuff all her links in the email. And her name is there if you want to just go straight to YouTube and find her. She's there.
Has a lot of videos there. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming tonight. This was very informative. Very interesting.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
We need this. I know a little bit about EFT, but I didn't think it was so involved that it could do so much.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can do with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
It's so simple.
Sorry?
So simple.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, can it grow hair?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah,
That's
you
a good
start
question.
tapping on the proteins that your body needs you have to increase the proteins and
Or
stuff.
maybe
but-
there's an emotional issue involved with
Yeah.
it. Who knows?
Who knows? I feel like I'm gonna have to tap
Well-
into that one to get the answer for that. I haven't had that
Yeah,
question
right.
yet.
Tapping in another
Well-
way for the tapping.
Mhm.
All right, so we gotta close
Okay.
up. And
Okay.
so what we do is just basically get back into our circle and get reconnected again. And yeah, so if everybody could just like to take sit back and relax and close your eyes. And we're going to do a little bit of a gratitude closing circle. And then taking in a couple of deep breaths and grounding in all the information as well. Integrating and grounding. There's just like so much information coming at us right now, and our bodies are just getting whacked, hit, you know, distorted. And so what we want to do is just get present to our body, feel the frequency, and be allowing and open to the information that we are specifically needing to receive at this time. And only love and light and only truth frequency that is connected to whatever it is that you're needing at the time. So I want to thank everybody for being on this call, all the Ascended Masters that were here to assist, and all our furry friends. Again, they are showing themselves. Yeah, and just whenever you are dealing with stress or, you know, confused or frustrated, the sooner you can get into gratitude, the sooner you can look at what it is that's great about your life, the faster you can disconnect and pull out of the lower vibrations. And tapping. Just tapping on the side of the hand can also help you get grounded. So thank you everybody for being here and for connecting into the circle, and the Ascended Masters that are here to assist, and the energies that we bring, and everyone else that'll be listening to the replay, connecting to your energies as well. And we instill and imbued and connect with everything and anything that can help you move forward in your life in this time. So whether it be truth, happiness, joy, connect into it now. And we take in a couple of deep breaths. And allow the body to settle in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And also take some water and put some intention in your water and thank it for hydrating you on a daily basis. And I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
And cheers. Salut.
Salut.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
Patty, for coming tonight.
It was great.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Penny.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Penny.
you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.